Ransomware payments reach record highs in 2024. North Korea exploits Windows 0 Day to install advanced malware. Toyota discloses a massive data breach after stolen data is leaked online. And don't get smug about Mac security if you're using Microsoft's Office suite. Welcome to Cybersecurity Today for Wednesday, August 21st. I'm your host, Jim Love. Ransomware payments have reached staggering new heights in 2024. According to the latest report from blockchain analysis firm Chainalysis, ransomware victims have already paid $459.8 million to attackers in the first half of this year. And that puts 2024 on track to be the highest grossing year yet for ransomware, with payments surpassing the previous record of $1.1 billion set in 2023. A clear indicator that ransomware actors are targeting bigger organizations is a significant increase in the median ransomware payment. And that median ransomware payment has spiked dramatically from just under $200,000 in early 2023 to a staggering $1.5 million in mid-2024. The largest single ransomware payment ever recorded was around $75 million paid to the Dark Angels ransomware group by a Fortune 50 company in the first quarter of 2024. Cybersecurity experts attribute this surge to ransomware groups shifting their tactics. Rather than carrying on numerous high-profile attacks, they're now focusing on targeting larger organizations that are more likely to pay hefty ransoms to avoid costly disruptions and data breaches. While the overall number of confirmed ransomware attacks has only grown by 10% year over year, only 10%, the cyber criminals are clearly reaping bigger rewards from their victims. This big game hunting strategy appears to be paying off handsomely for the ransomware syndicates. Chainalysis notes, however, that fewer organizations are succumbing to extortion demands, suggesting that awareness and resilience against ransomware may be improving. But with record-breaking payouts still occurring, it's clear that the fight against this persistent threat is far from over. As we head into the second half of 2024, cybersecurity experts will be closely watching to see if this ransomware bonanza continues or if increased defenses and law enforcement efforts can finally start to turn the tide. And before we presume that small organizations are in the clear, let's just wait until we see some data on that. In a concerning development, researchers have uncovered evidence that hackers working for the North Korean government have exploited a recently patched Windows 0 Day vulnerability to install a highly sophisticated piece of malware known as FUD module. The vulnerability, tracked as CVE 2024-38193, was one of 6 0 days vulnerabilities known or actively exploited before a patch was available that were fixed by Microsoft last month. Microsoft warned that the vulnerability, a use-after-free bug in the Windows kernel, could be exploited to give attackers system-level privileges, the highest level of access on the system. The security firm Gen reported that the threat actors behind these attacks were part of Lazarus, a hacking group tied to the North Korean government. And Lazarus used the 0 Day exploit to install FUD module, this highly advanced rootkit malware, discovered and analyzed by security researchers in 2022. Kits like FUD module can hide their files, processes, and other components from the operating system, allowing them to bypass security defenses and maintain deep control over the infected system. Earlier this year, a newer variant of FUD module was found to bypass key Windows security features like endpoint detection and response and protected process light. Interestingly, Microsoft took 6 months to patch this vulnerability after it was privately reported, allowing Lazarus to continue exploiting it during that time. The researchers noted that FUD module malware is both sophisticated and resource-intensive, potentially costing several hundred thousands of dollars on the black market. This type of attack specifically targets individuals and organizations in sensitive fields, such as cryptocurrency, engineering, and aerospace, in order to gain access to their networks and steal valuable data and assets. And it's not too far of a leap to think this exploit was used against large organizations, potentially engineering and aerospace. But how much damage was done before the patch, or might continue into the future by openings made by this rootkit? We may never know. Toyota has confirmed a data breach after a hacking group known as 07 Group leaked 240 gigabytes of stolen data from the automaker's systems on a cybercrime forum. The threat actor group boasted of obtaining a trove of data covering everything like contacts, finance, customers, schemes, employees, photos, DBs, network infrastructure, emails, and a lot of other data. Toyota has acknowledged the incident but has attempted to downplay its significance, stating that the issue is limited in scope and is not system-wide. However, the sheer volume of data stolen, 240 gigabytes, suggests this was a substantial breach, impacting a wide range of Toyota's operations and sensitive information. And it's not the first time Toyota has faced a data breach. In late 2023, the company's financial services division disclosed an incident that exposed customers' names, addresses, and financial details. The earlier breach was reportedly by the Medusa ransomware gang, who demanded a multi-million-dollar ransom to delete the stolen data. Some security experts believe that the 07 Group may have exploited vulnerabilities in Toyota's network infrastructure to gain access and carry out this latest large-scale data theft. Popular cybersecurity expert Kevin Beaumont first proposed that Germany had a vulnerable Citrix gateway exposed online and that the threat actors could have exploited the vulnerability Citrix Bleed to gain initial access to the company's network. Toyota's delayed response and downplaying the scope of the breach is unlikely to reassure impacted customers and employees whose sensitive information may now be circulating on the dark web. A vulnerability has been discovered in the Microsoft suite of productivity apps for Mac OS, which could allow hackers to gain unauthorized access to users' cameras and microphones. Security researchers from Cisco Talos uncovered a total of 8 flaws across various Microsoft apps, including Outlook, Teams, PowerPoint, OneNote, Excel, and Word. To use the technical term, the whole shebang. The vulnerabilities could allow an attacker to inject malicious code into these Microsoft apps, bypassing the robust controls built into the Mac OS. These vulnerabilities could allow an attacker to inject malicious code into these Microsoft apps, bypassing the robust security controls built into the Mac OS. Normally, Mac OS has strong safeguards to prevent apps from accessing sensitive user data and resources without explicit permission. This includes features like discretionary access control and transparency, consent, and control. However, the issues found in Microsoft's implementations of these security mechanisms create a dangerous loophole. Attackers could exploit these flaws to gain unauthorized access to a user's camera, microphone, and other protected security resources. Michael Covington, VP of Strategy at the security firm JamF, explains the broader implications when he says, Microsoft's apps were found to disable checks on third-party libraries being loaded. This is a noteworthy flaw in apps that naturally require permissions to Apple's controlled resources like the camera or microphone, because users are inclined to grant such permissions to collaborative tools like Microsoft Teams or logging tools like OneNote. And while Microsoft has patched some of the vulnerabilities in apps like Teams and OneNote, productivity applications like Word, Excel, Outlook, and PowerPoint remain exposed. The risk may be relatively low, as users are unlikely to grant these apps access to sensitive resources like the camera or microphone. Nevertheless, this incident highlights the potential security trade-offs that can arise when third-party apps interface with the robust security controls of platforms like the Mac OS. It serves as a reminder to users to be cautious about granting permissions to apps, even from trusted vendors like Microsoft. And to all of us who love our Macs but still use Microsoft's suite of applications, making the shift to the Mac equivalents might finally make some sense. That's our show. You can find our show notes at technewsday.com or .ca. Take your pick. And I want to thank all of you who've sent in your notes saying how much you miss Howard. I have to say, I agree. Howard has been a colleague of mine for many years. We marveled and learned from him as a journalist, and he's still a friend. I hope to bring him back as a panelist with some stories in the future. And those are big shoes to fill, but I hope with your guidance and support, we can continue to make this what it was under Howard's hosting, one of the top security podcasts in the world. You can reach me at editorial@technewsday.ca. I'm your host, Jim Love. Thanks for listening.